Good day, everyone. Today, we are moving into an essential and exciting part of our learning journey, the Unit 6 Performance Enhancement and Assessment. In this unit, we'll learn how to improve physical performance through effective strategies and how to measure progress through proper assessment tools. Get ready to discover how training and evaluation work hand in hand to support growth and success.
Good day everyone, I am Christian James Gallon and today we're going to discuss and define imagery and its characteristics. So, according to Morris, Petal, and Watt 2005, the focus of each definition varies depending on the purpose for which the imagery description is used. And according to Moran 2009, imagery is or as a mental activity, it involves the internal representation of information without the stimulus present. Okay? And according to Holmes and Calmel's 2008, imagery in the context of sport may be considered as the neural generation or regeneration of parts of a brain representation or neural network involving primarily top-down sensory, perceptual, and affective characteristics that are primarily under the conscious control of the imager and which may occur in the absence of perceptual afference functionally equivalent to the actual sporting experience. So, we have here the 5 key characteristics of the imagery process. We have the modality, the perspective, angle, agency, and last one we have deliberation. Okay, so we will discuss it bit by bit. Okay. First is we have modality. So, modality refers to the primary sensory system you engage when forming a mental image. While visual imagery is often what comes to mind first, our internal experiences can involve any of the senses. So, modality, we have here his components. So, we have here 5 components. First one is we have auditory, gustatory, kinesthetic, olfactory, tactile, and visual. So, for the auditory, it's all about hearing sounds internally, or it is the melody of a song that is, or the rustling of the leaves. Okay, so auditory is all about hearing. Next, we have gustatory. So, gustatory is all about imagining tastes. Okay, so for example, the sweetness of honey and the sources of a lemon. So, you are imagining taste that is gustatory. Okay, third one is we have kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is all about feeling bodily sensation. The warmth, for example, the sun on your skin and the tension in your muscle. Okay, next one is we have olfactory. Olfactory is all about evoking smells. Like for example, the fragrance of roses and the aroma of coffee. So, you are imagining the smell of a thing. So, that is olfactory. And last one, we have, the last one is we have tactile. Okay, so tactile, okay, so tactile is all about, or tactile is connected with the sense of touch. Okay, so you are imagining the sense of a touch. So that is tactile. And lastly, we have the visual. So visual is all about seeing it in your mind's eye. Okay, so for example, the colors, the shapes, the movement, or imagine you are picturing a red apple. So that is visual in modality. Okay, so the next one, we have the second characteristic, we have the perspective. So the perspective describes your viewpoint within the mental scene, So we have here the 1 pp and the 3 pp. So 1 pp is the first person perspective and the 3 pp is the third person perspective. The next one is we have the angle. Okay, so the angle is a more refined aspect of perspective, focusing on the specific vantage point from which you are observing or experiencing the image. So we have here its components, above, front, behind, or the side from right or left. Okay, so that is the angle. Next one, we have agency. So the agency refers to the sense of control you have within the image scenario. We have here its components, the self and the other. Okay, and then last one, we have deliberation. So deliberation describes the level of conscious effort and control you exert in creating and manipulating the mental image. We have deliberation has two components. We have here the spontaneous or triggered deliberate or and deliberate mental practice. So spontaneous is all about the image arises without conscious effort, perhaps triggered by a memory, a thought, or an external stimulus. For example, dreams. So dreams, kanang gadamgo ka. These are prime example of spontaneous imagery. And we have here, and the second is deliberate mental practice or the intentional or controlled. So you're consciously trying to form a specific image, focusing on details, and perhaps even manipulating it. And this is often used in visualization techniques or problem solving. Okay. Next one is we have, so how does imagery involve with performance? So we define neural plasticity and explain how the brain changes when we learn a skill. So the role played by imagery during the acquisition and execution of physical skills is discussed with specific mention to the use of pre-performance imagery to prime or stimulate subsequent movement through functional equivalence. So I will give the next report to Miss Caburnay Leonilin. She will explain the functional equivalence.
Good day everyone, I am Leonelyn Cabornay, and now let's talk about the functional equivalence and the effect of imagery on physical performance. Imagery has long been regarded as a powerful tool for enhancing motor learning and performance, yet the mechanisms behind its effectiveness have only recently been clarified through advancements in neuroimaging technologies like PET or PET and fMRI. These tools have revealed significant neural overlap between the act of imaging a movement and physically executing it, a phenomenon termed functional equivalence. Although imagery and actual execution are not identical, they share activation of major brain regions, including the primary motor cortex, the premotor areas, somatosensory cortex, and subcortical structures like the cerebellum and basal ganglia. Despite this overlap, important distinctions exist. Research shows that while similar areas are activated, they do not engage identically during imagery and execution. For instance, different parts of the striatum are active depending on whether a person imagines or physically performs a task, suggesting that although imagery replicates the core elements of physical practice, it cannot completely replace it. Support for functional equivalence extends beyond neural imaging to physiological responses. EMG studies have demonstrated that muscle activation patterns during mental imagery mirror those seen in actual movement, even varying according to the imagined task demands. Additionally, imagery produces correlated changes in breathing and heart rate, further aligning imagined and real experiences. Moreover, imagery preserves the temporal structure of movement. Mental chronometry studies reveal that the time it takes to imagine performing a task matches closely the time it takes to physically perform it, following biomechanical principles like Fitts' law. This further confirms that mental practice respects the constraints of physical movement. Imagery also demonstrates perceptual equivalence with sensory modalities. Brain activity during visual, auditory, and olfactory imagery overlaps significantly with that of actual perception, suggesting that individuals see, hear, or smell with their mind's eye, ear, or nose using similar neural pathways. Given this strong foundation of evidence, it becomes clear how imagery affects physical performance through repeated activation of motor related neural areas. Imagery supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and optimize its structure and function. Both short-term and long-term adaptations occur, such as strengthening neuronal connections and forming new synapses, leading to more efficient movement execution over time. Imagery not only contributes to long-term skill acquisition, but also has immediate effects by priming the motor system. Mental rehearsal just before performing a skill can improve accuracy and speed, as has been demonstrated across multiple sports like golf, darts, table tennis, and tennis. However, the quality of imagery matters. Poor or incorrect imagery can actually impair performance. To maximize imagery's benefits, the the PETTLEP model has been proposed, which emphasizes incorporating physical, environmental, task-specific, timing, learning, emotional, and perspective components into imagery practice. This approach ensures that mental rehearsal is as close to the real experience as possible, strengthening the representational overlap between imagery and execution. And finally, individual differences in imagery ability play a crucial role. Higher imagery ability is associated with greater performance benefits, but this capacity can be enhanced through systematic cognitive training based on neuroscience research, expanding the accessibility and effectiveness of imagery interventions. So, functional equivalence offers a compelling neuroscientific explanation for why imagery enhances motor performance. It not only mirrors but actively supports the processes involved in physical movement, making imagery an essential tool for athletes, learners, and rehabilitation patients alike. Now, Teacher Marby will continue the discussion.
Good morning once again. I am Marvy Grace Piligra, and today I'll be discussing the PETLAP model, one of the most powerful tools when it comes to using mental imagery to improve performance. The PETLAP model was introduced by Holmes and Collins in 2001 and refined in 2002. It was developed to make imagery more effective by closely matching what really happens during physical practice. The word PETLAP is actually an acronym that stands for 7 components: physical, environment, task, timing, learning, emotion, and perspective. All of this helps us create a mental experience that's as close to the real thing as possible. Now, let's break down a little. First is physical. It refers to the physical stance or body position of the person while imagining the task. For example, if an athlete is mentally rehearsing a basketball shot, they should actually hold the ball and position their body like they would in a real game. Next is environment. It is all about setting. Where does the activity usually takes place? Try to imagine the exact place, whether it's a sports arena, a gym, or a quiet stage. Next is task. It means the skills or action being imagined. This should match the actual task as closely as possible. The details matter, like the feel of the tennis racket or the rhythm of a gymnastic routine. Next is timing. It suggests that the imagery should match the real-time space. So, if it takes 5 seconds to serve a ball, you don't imagine it in 2 seconds or in slow motion. You imagine it happening as it really would. Next is learning. So it refers to updating your imagery as your skills improve. So if you learn a new trick or technique, you include that in your mental rehearsal. Your mental practice should evolve with you. Next is emotion. It is important because feelings are part of performance. So, if a situation usually makes you nervous or excited, like competing in front of a crowd, you include those emotions in your imagery too, right? And lastly, we have the perspective. It's about whether you see the image from a first person point of view, as if you're doing the activity yourself, or from a third person point of view, like watching yourself on a screen. Both can work, and people often use a mix of the two depending on what feels most realistic. Now, let me give you a simple example of how this model is used. Let's say a gymnast is preparing for a floor routine. Using the PETLAB model, she might wear her leotard, go to the gym floor, and mentally rehearse her routine at normal speed. She visualizes the exact flips, lands, and movements she needs to perform, while also imagining the pressure and nerves of competition. She does this using a first person view, feeling the twist in her body and floor under her feet. What's amazing is that research supports how effective this can be. Holmes and Collins, the creators of this model, found that including all 7 components makes mental practice much more powerful. In fact, studies shows that athletes who combine PETLAB-based imagery with physical training perform better than those who only practice physically. The brain actually activates similar areas when you're mentally rehearsing as it does when you're doing the real movement. It's like training without the risk of injury. But what if someone can't practice physically at all? Like maybe they're recovering from an injury? Well, that's where the PETLAB model is even more helpful. It's super flexible. Let's say a sprinter is out with a leg injury. They can still mentally rehearse their sprints by watching videos or their races, sitting in their usual starting position and visualizing the race with full intensity. That way, they stay connected to the skill even when their body isn't ready. And here's one more important thing. Imagery ability plays a big role. Not everyone finds it easy to create vivid mental images. Some people can image every detail, the sound, the feeling, even the smell, while others find it hard to picture anything at all. That's why imagery training is also helpful. Athletes and performers can develop their imagination over time, just like they develop physical skills. The clearer and more realistic the mental image, the more effective it is. So to wrap it up, the Petlep model gives us a structured, evidence-based way to practice skills mentally. It's more than just thinking about doing something. It's about recreating the whole experience in your mind, using all the seven components to make the mental practice feel real. It supports performance, help during injury recovery, and adds an extra layer of preparation that goes beyond physical training. That's why it's used by athletes, dancers, performers, and even students preparing for public speaking. As long as the imagery is vivid, structured, and regularly updated, PetLab can make difference. Thank you, that's all.
Hi everyone, I am Janami Duan and now I will be discussing the three important parts of the topic, imagery in performance, specifically the components of imagery ability, its importance and its assessment, and how we can improve it. So, let's begin. So now let's start with the components of imagery ability. So, imagery ability is made up of different mental skills that can help us create and control images in our minds. So, this includes vividness, which is how clear and how detailed the image feels, almost like the real experience. So, controllably, it is how easily we can change or direct the image in our mind, like rotating it or imagining different movements. So, another part is the ease of generating the image, like how quickly and naturally it comes to our mind. So, emotional content is also important because the feelings we attach to an image can make it stronger and more effective. The Also, the perspective switching is our ability to change between viewing the image from our own eyes or in the first person view or as if we are watching ourselves in the third person's view. And now finally, the content flexibility, which it refers on how easily we can imagine different types of situation like actions, strategies, or feelings. Now, the second one that we will discuss is the importance of imagery ability and its assessment. So, imagery ability is important because it directly affects how well we can use mental imagery to improve our performance. So, people with strong imagery ability tend to perform better, learn faster, and stay more confident, whether in sports, physical therapy, or other areas. It helps us prepare mentally even when we are not physically practicing. So, because everyone's ability to imagine varies, we can use assessments like the VMIQ2, the MIQ-R, or the SIAQ to measure how vivid and how clear someone's images are. So, these tools can help the coaches and the psychologists to know to guide to know how to guide someone's imagery training for a better result. Now, the last one that I will be discussing is the improving imagery ability. So, the imagery ability can be developed over time. So, one popular method is using the PETTLEP model, which includes the seven parts, or it stands for P for physical, E for environment, T for task, the another T for timing, L for learning, E for emotion, and P for perspective. So this means that the more your imagery matches the real life situations, for example, by using the same clothes, equipment, emotions, and timing, the more powerful it becomes. Also, the other way to boost imagery ability is through observation, like watching videos of yourselves or watching videos of the others. Okay, so now combining imagery with physical practice is also shown to bring the best performance results. Even watching from the same perspective you plan to imagining from strengthening your skills. So, with the right practice, anyone can improve their imagery ability and can gain more from using it. So now, to sum it all up from the components up to the improving the imagery ability, the imagery ability is a powerful tool which it includes different mental skills, and also it plays a big role in different performances, and best of all it can improve us. So I hope this helped you understand the topic more clearly. I hope you enjoyed listening and watching from this discussion, and I hope you learned something. I think that's the end of my topic. Once again, thank you for watching.
Today, we are going to look beyond the traditional view of imagery as just a tool for skill performance. Imagery has broader psychological, emotional, and even physical benefits. And also, I discuss a modernized model that better explains how and why we use imagery. So, imagery impacts much more than just physical movement. Research shows it boosts motivation, sharpens attention, um, helps regulate arousal and emotions, strengthens confidence and self efficacy, and even improves problem solving, planning, and memory. So, physical benefits like enhanced strength, flexibility, and healing have also been observed. Imagery is a truly multidimensional tool. Martin and Collages classified imagery outcomes into three categories. First, helping skill learning and performance. Second, modifying how athletes think. And third, regulating emotional responses such as anxiety. So one key idea they proposed is the what you see is what you get principle, meaning your imagery content needs to match the outcome you're targeting. Next is the matching imagery to outcomes. So it is important to match imagery content to the desired outcome. For example, imagining technical skills supports learning, imagining achieving goals increases motivation, and imagining success boosts confidence when imagery content and goals are aligned. So imagery becomes more effective. Next is the multiple outcomes from one imagery type. So, imagery is not limited to producing just one result. So, a single imagery session can produce multiple benefits depending on the individual's needs. For instance, skill imagery might improve both physical performance and self confidence. Similarly, goal and confidence imagery can also enhance technical skills learning indirectly. So next is the cognitive and motivational functions by Pivio 1985. So according to Pivio's framework, imagery serves two major functions, which is the cognitive and motivational. So within this, imagery can be specific like rehearsing a certain movement, or general like building overall strategy or motivation. Recognizing these different layers helps tailor imagery to specific performance and psychological needs. So next is the content versus function debate. So one important research finding is that the content of imagery, what's being imagined. does not always line up perfectly within its function. So, why it's being imagined? The same mental image might serve multiple functions, helping you learn a new move, boosting your confidence, and calming anxiety at all once or all at once. Next is the Sports Imagery Questionnaire or the SIQ. So the Sport Imagery Questionnaire was one of the first tools used to measure imagery use among athletes. However, it primarily measures the type of imagery, not necessarily its function. More recent approaches now make a clearer distinction between type or what is imagined and function or why it's imagined. So next I will be discuss the revised applied model of deliberate imagery use. So why revise the model? So the original model was helpful but did not clearly distinguish between imagery type and function. So newer research suggests that the function or the purpose behind imagery should be the central focus. So this revision keeps the strength of the old model but provides more practical clarity for real-world use. So, components of the revised model. So, the revised model continues to focus on where, when, and why athletes use imagery, but it adds who is using it, what they are imagining, what they are imaging, and how they do it. Most importantly, it emphasizes personal meaning, how emotionally meaningful or relevant the imagery is to the individual. So this personal connection strengthens the impact of imagery. Next is the broader application. While this model was created with athletes in mind, its use extends far beyond sports. Dancers, musicians, exercisers, and even rehabilitation patients can benefit. So imagery is a flexible and powerful tool across many fields of human performance and recovery. Next is the enhancing imagery effectiveness. So finally, to make the maximize of the effectiveness of imagery, we can apply the PETTLEP principles. This stands for physical, environment, task, timing, learning, emotional, and perspective. So by this, imagery functionally equivalent to real performance and personally meaningful, we can drive even greater outcomes, whether that is improving skills, boosting motivation, or enhancing memory.
Good day, everyone. I am Christian Corvera Ancheta, and I'll be discussing the why, what, and personal meaning behind imagery, as well as the how to image effectively. This presentation is based on the recent research that emphasizes the need for personalized and purposeful mental imagery in sports and performance settings. Let's begin with the core concept, the function of imagery. Traditionally, types of imagery were categorized based on their purpose, but newer models emphasize that it's the function or the reason why we use imagery that truly drives its effectiveness. Whether it's to boost confidence, to reduce anxiety, or improve focus, the function determines the kinds of content that should be used. Imagery is a deeply personal experience. What works for an athlete may not work for another. The meaning attached to an image bridges the gap between the function and the actual imagery content. Just like, for example, an elite rugby player might use technical and tactical imagery rather than motivational images to feel more confident and prepared. So, understanding personal meaning is essential for imagery to be effective. According to researchers like Short, it's more effective to first identify the function, what the athlete wants to achieve, and then determine the appropriate imagery content. Although this takes more time, it creates tailored interventions that athletes find more enjoyable and impactful. Personalized imagery aligns both theoretically and emotionally with the performer's goals. Now that we understand the why and what, let's move on to the how. Imagery isn't just about picturing something in your mind. It involves how vivid, detailed, and structured those images are. Successful imagery requires consideration of multiple factors such as the perspective used, the clarity of the image, and the level of conscious control. Imagery can involve all the senses like visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and even emotional cues. Athletes may use different perspectives, such as first person or third person views, depending on what feels most natural. Other characteristics like the duration and speed of imagery also influence how realistic and effective the mental rehearsal becomes. The Petlep model is a practical guide for enhancing imagery. It focuses on physical, environment, task, timing, learning, emotion, and perspective. Using cues that mirror real-life performance settings like a locker room or sound of the crowd can help generate more effective and realistic mental images. These cues also act as triggers, reminding performers to engage with their imagery more consistently. Finally, imagery should be structured and deliberate. This means deciding in advance what to image, for how long, and in what sequence. The more thought and clarity performers put into their mental practice, the more vivid and beneficial their imagery becomes. This kind of structured approach ensures that the imagery remains aligned with performance goals and remains psychologically meaningful. In continuation of this discussion, I'll give the floor to the next reporter.
Good day, everyone. I am Lori Ann S. Vallacera, and I'm going to discuss to you the conclusion of the topic. So, this chapter examined imagery as a both cognitive foundation for motor action and a tool to enhance athletic and dance performance using Holmes and Connell's 2008 framework. It is outlined imagery's characteristics and cognitive neuroscience findings such as functional equivalence and neural plasticity that supports motor skill performance. The Petlep model, Holmes and Collins 2001, was discussed to guide effective imagery interventions. The chapter also addressed the importance of developing image readability, detailed over positive outcomes, and proposed a revised applied model of imagery use. The remaining challenges in the field were acknowledged. Next is future directions. How personalized do imagery interventions need to be? So, personalized imagery interventions in sports psychology mean tailor- tailoring mental exercises to fit an athlete's individual needs and preferences. This helps athletes visualize important aspects of their performance, like their movements, surroundings, or emotions, in a way that are meaningful to them. So, for example, an athlete might imagine that their coach giving them feedback or picture themselves performing a skill successfully. So the key to this approach is understanding what works best for the athletes, including how they like to imagine things like from their own point of view or from an outside perspective. So some of the athletes might find it easier to picture things vividly or switch between different perspectives. So the goal is to make the imagery as effective as possible by adjusting it to these preferences. However, in some cases, like the research studies, it is not always possible to personalize uh, the imagery for each participant. Instead, researchers give everyone the same set of instructions to keep things consistent. While it's still unclear how this standardized instruction compared to personalized ones, a balanced approach that combines both personal input from athletes and set guidelines that could work well in the practice. So, while personalizing imagery is important, there are some situations where it is more practical to use a mix of both personalized and general instructions. So, next is, how do we know someone is imagining? So, imagery is a subjective internal experience, making it hard to measure directly. Traditional methods like self reports, example, questionnaires, have limitations. People may struggle to describe their imagery experiences, especially since imagery is a non verbal experience. The person's report may not always be accurate because they could be unsure or unaware of the specifics of their mental images. So these challenges have caused researchers to question the effectiveness of self-report methods and raise doubts about imagery accuracy. Next, the explicit versus implicit. So explicit imagery refers to conscious internal representations like the mental pictures, sounds, or sensations people intentionally create in their minds. So, this is the traditional imagery that athletes or performers use to prepare for actions or events. It is hard to measure because it is a subjective or internal experience. So the implicit imagery, it it refers to non-conscious automatic internal representations of behaviors. This includes mental processes that happen without active conscious effort. So researchers use tasks that rely on mental processing to observe implicit imagery indirectly. Next is the mental rotation. A common task used to measure implicit imagery is the mental rotation. In this task, participants are shown images of objects like hands or feet from different angles. They are asked to determine whether the object is a left or right foot. For example, which requires mentally rotating the image. The idea is that people use imagery to mentally rotate the object in their minds to answer the questions. However, this approach has limitation. It doesn't measure the same type of imagery as self-reports. So the participant might use different strategies like logical reasoning or recognition rather than imagery to complete the task. Next is the combining self-report with physiological measures. So, a growing trend in imagery research is combining self reports with physiological and neurophysiological measures to get a more accurate picture of imagery. Uh, so, the physiological measures these include the changes in heart rate, blood pressure, or muscle tension, which can indicate that someone is experiencing a mental processes like imagery. So, example is when a person imagines a physical movement, example like running or lifting weights. So, so their body might show signs of preparing for that movement, such as an heart increase in heart rate. So this helps to validate the imagery process by showing that the body is reacting similarly to actual physical actions, even if the person is just imagining them. So next is the establishing the most effective methods for improving imagery ability. So, imagery ability as modifiable skills. Imagery ability is not something people are born with, it can be developed through training or experience. So, the research has shown that with the right techniques, individual can improve their capacity to visualize and use imagery effectively. This challenges the traditional view that imagery is a fixed trait and opens up opportunities for the athletes, performer, performers, or anyone to develop their imagery skills through practice. Ah, Next is the methods for improving imagery ability. So, for the observation, this method is particularly useful for improving movement energy. By watching others perform from the desired actions, individual can create a clearer mental images of how the movement should be executed. So this works well in the scenarios where the focus is on the accuracy and the correct executions of the movement. So for the layering exercises, these exercises are more focused in enhancing emotional and sensory aspects of imagery. So the layering involves adding more details and dimensions to the mental image like emotions, physical sensations, or environmental details. This is useful when the imagery needs to tap into feelings or emotions. Example, visualizing a performance and connecting to how it makes the individual feel. So next is comparing methods for different components. So different techniques may be more suitable for improving specific components of imagery. So for the observation, it is effective when the goal is to improve movement imagery and ensure the accurate executions of physical tasks. And for the layering exercises are better when the focus is on enhancing the emotional and sensory richness of the imagery. So these distinctions are more important because imagery is not a one size fits all technique. What works for one person or situation may not work as effectively to another. So for the next is the retention effectives versus immediate activation. So an important consideration is whether these techniques lead to long term improvement, like retention effects, or if they only activate neural pathways temporarily. So the retention effects this refers to whether the imagery ability remains improved after the intervention has ended, leading to lasting changes and changes. Immediate activation sometimes technique just help trigger the brain to activate certain neural processes, but the improvement might not last over time. So understanding this difference helps determine whether a technique will lead to sustainable improvement or just act as a temporary aid. So, and that would be all for my topic. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Janalogay Rivas Tagalog, and today I will be discussing about 6.2 types of self-talk involved in sports performance. So, what is self-talk in sports? Self-talk is mantra, praise, or inner dialogue that builds ability and confidence. Also happens inside your mind, sometimes out loud. It can be positive or negative and influences emotion, focus, and actions in sports. So, self talk is basically how we communicate ourselves, either silently or sometimes we even whisper it. So, like before a game, we might think, I can do this, or baka magkamali ako. Kahit sa isip lang, it affects our emotions, our energy, and how we perform. Kaya super important na maging aware tayo kung ano ang sinasabi natin sa ating sarili. Okay? Next is effects of self-talk. It is a positive self-talk that improves performance and reduce anxiety. Negative self-talk increase fear, pressure, and mistakes. Also, balance is important. Correct yourself, but stay encouraging. So positive self-talk keeps us calm and focused, lalo na sa big moments. Meanwhile, negative self-talk makes us doubt ourselves na mas lalo pang pinapahirapan ang laro. That's why part ng pagiging athlete is learning how to manage your inner voice. Next is the importance of awareness and practice. It requires daily awareness and repetitions. It also replaces negative thoughts with positive ones. And mental trainings is just important as physical training. Self-talk doesn't improve overnight. Kailangan talaga consistent practice. So every time you catch yourself thinking negatively, you need to switch agad to something more positive. So in short, mental training din siya, just like practicing your skills. Next is the four types of self-talk in sports. So first is the instructional self-talk, second is the motivational self-talk, third the positive self-talk, and fourth is the negative self-talk. First is instructional self-talk. It focuses on technical skills and procedures, also gives specific reminders to your body. Example of instructional self-talk is raise your elbow, stay balanced, focus on the ball. So, instructional self-talk is like coaching yourself habang naglalaro ka. For example, habang nagsiserve ka sa volleyball, iniisip mo, toss high, snap the wrist. So, it keeps your mind on technique instead of distractions. Next is motivational self-talk. It boosts emotional energy and confidence. Also helps during pressure situations. Example of motivational self-talk is, let's go. I got this. Keep pushing. So, motivational self-talk naman is about lifting your spirit, lalo na kapag pagod na or na-pressure. Like saying, you've trained for this, or konti na lang, laban. It pushes you to give that extra effort. Next is the positive self talk. It focuses on encouragement and progress, also builds resilience even after mistakes. So, example of positive self talk is, good job. I'm improving every day. I'm proud of my effort. So, positive self talk reminds us that mistakes are normal and that we're still growing. So, instead of blaming yourself, you say, okay lang, bounce back next play. So, that way, hindi tayo basta-basta na di-discourage. And the fourth one is the negative self talk. It focuses on doubt, criticism, and failure. Also, increase anxiety and lowers performance. Example of negative self talk is, I'm not good enough. I always mess up. So, negative self-talk pulls us down. Pag lagi mo iniisip, wala na, talo na kami, your mind and body starts giving up even if kaya mo pa. That's why it's important to notice and stop it early. Okay? So, why is self-talk important in sports? So, mindset affects body reaction and focuses, but positive minds um, is equivalent to better play. Negative mindset, more mistakes and pressure. Control mindsets affects emotions, confidence, and body performance. Improve focus helps you to stay in the moment and block distractions. Manage pressure, so reduce anxiety and nerves during competitions. Builds resilience, so helps you recover faster after mistakes or failures. Also, it boosts performances and also strengthen mental toughness. So it prepares you for challenges in both practice and real games. In sports, our mind is our secret weapon. Self talk is important in sports because it controls how we think and feel habang nagpe-perform tayo. So if we have positive self talk, mas calm tayo, mas focus, and mas confident. Pero if we keep thinking negatively, madali tayong kabahan, magpanic, or magkamali. Kaya sa sports, hindi lang skills ang binubuo, pati mental strength. Kaya good self-talk helps us handle pressure, recover from mistakes, and perform at our best kahit under stress. Okay? Last is the positive self-talk in sports, theory, practice, and application. So theory, a positive self-talk blocks negativity. It also creates relaxation, focus, and excitement to perform well. So when we keep our thoughts positive, mas relax tayo and mas na-enjoy natin yung laro. You feel lighter and perform better because you are not dragging yourself down. Next is the practice. So it focuses on controllable things like effort and attitude. Also, praise yourself for small success and ignore negativity from the environment. Focus on things you can control, your hustle, your attitude. So kahit simple lang like nice pass or good defense, those small praise build big confidence over time. Okay? Last is the application. Be aware of your thoughts during play, replace negative talk immediately, and recognize both physical and mental improvement. So, during games, kailangan maging alert ka rin sa inisip mo, not just sa kalaban. Pag nararamdaman mong parang nagiging negative ka, pause and shift. Tell yourself, I can adjust. Kaya ko to. So that way, you stay strong mentally hanggang matapos ang laban. Okay? So self-talk is a powerful tool in sport. It can build um, confidence, improve focus, and help athletes perform under pressure. So, by practicing positive self talk and managing negative thoughts, athletes can strengthen both their body and mind to achieve success. And that's all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Javigail B. Flores, and today we will be discussing about mental toughness and resilience, development and maintenance with the subtopic boosting mental toughness in young athletes and 20 strategies. Mental toughness is the foundation of success in young athletes. It's the mental muscle that helps them survive the demands of morning training, tough competition, and balancing school and sports. Building this early gives athletes the power to face the future sports and life challenges with strength. Now that we know what we're talking about, let's understand what exactly is mental toughness. Now, what is mental toughness? Now, as Sutton 2024 explains, mental toughness is not about being loud or aggressive. It's the athletes who stays focused after losing a match, the swimmer who keeps training despite feeling tired, or the basketball player who misses a shoot but keeps shooting. It's the invisible power that keeps them trying when others stop. Now, here are the importance of mental toughness. First, it handles pressure and stress. Second, it builds consistency and perseverance. Third, it boosts confidence and lowers anxiety. And last, it leads to success on and off the field. Now, Lower 1986 and Kramer et al. 2019 say mental toughness build a strong foundation. Athletes with it stay calm under stress, stay motivated during setbacks, and build skills they can use not just in sports but in school, careers, and relationship. Now that we see why it's important, the next question is how do we build mental toughness? Now let's talk about the four C's. According to Peter Clough and Lee Cross 2005, these four pillars are the building blocks of mentally tough athletes. First is we have control. Control is about managing your emotions and actions, especially under pressure. A young athlete with strong control does not panic after a bad call by the referee or get easily discouraged by mistakes. Instead, they stay calm, keep their focus, and adjust their game intelligently. Next is we have commitment. Commitment means sticking to your goals no matter what. Even when training gets boring, exhausted, or when quick results don't come, committed athletes show up every day. They treat their promises to themselves and their coaches seriously. Next is we have challenge. Challenge refers to how athletes view hard times. Instead of seeing failure as a reason to quit, Mentally tough athletes treat challenges like stepping stones. They embrace difficult games, tough opponents, and setbacks as changes or chances to improve their skills and prove their dedication. Last is we have confidence. Confidence is the belief deep inside that you are capable and worthy. Confidence helps athletes take risks, trust their training, and perform their best even others doubt them. A confident athlete dares to take the shot, make the pass, or step onto the field knowing they are prepared. Now, these four pillars don't just help athletes win games, they help them handle school stress, personal challenges, and future careers pressure too. Now that we know the four pillars that makes athletes mentally tough, let's move on to the real heroes who show these traits as the highest levels. Now, here is our first example of mentally tough athlete. She is Bethany Hamilton. Bethany Hamilton lost her arm in a shark attack in just 13 years old. Now, instead of giving up surfing, she got back on board only 26 days after the attack. Now, her story teaches us that through control and confidence can overcome even life-changing injuries. Next is we have Peyton Manning. So Peyton Manning suffered a major neck injury that threatened to end his career, but his commitment to recover and unwavering belief in himself brought him back stronger. He only not returned but lead the Denver Broncos to a Super Bowl win. Next is we have Niki Lauda, a Formula One legend, survived a horrific crash that left him with severe burns. Amazingly, within 6 weeks, he was back behind the wheel racing again. His challenged mindset, turning fear and pain into motivation, is an incredible example of resilience and strength. Now, last is we have Michael Jordan. So, Michael Jordan was once cut from his high school basketball team. Now, instead of quitting, he trained harder, believed in his potential, and eventually became one of the greatest athletes of all time. Now, his story reminds us that rejection can fuel greatness if we stay committed and confident. These athletes shows us that mental toughness is not about being lucky or perfect. It's about refusing to let setbacks define you and choosing every day to fight, improve, and believe. Now you might wonder, is mental toughness and same as resilience? Now let's take a closer look. Ninan 2018 and Soton 2019 explained that resilience is bouncing back after a fall. Mental toughness means staying calm, focused, and effective while facing problems not just after they pass. In the end, mental toughness is believing you can succeed even the life gets tough. It's staying calm under pressure, working hard when it's easier to quit, and treating every challenge like a stepping stone to greatness. With mental toughness, young athletes and all of us can turn struggles into strength and dreams into reality. Now that's end of my discussion. And now I will be giving the floor to the next reporter.
Hello, everyone. In continuation with our topic, let's talk about the role of coaches and parents in developing mental toughness. So, what is mental toughness? Mental toughness is an essential trait for success in sports, and the role of coaches and parents in developing this toughness cannot be overstated. According to Sir Charles et al. 2021, the support of both coaches and parents is vital in fostering and maintaining mental resilience in young athletes. Mental toughness also is not a fixed trait. It is a neuroplastic, which means it can be developed and strengthened over time. This means that while individuals are not required to change their mental toughness, doing so can certainly improve their chances of achieving their goals in sports and life. And the right environment created by supportive coaches and parents helps children build the cognitive resources they need to succeed. This includes developing coping strategies, emotional regulation, and mental discipline, which are essential in competitive environments. Now, the impact of supportive mentors. Mentors, specifically the coaches and parents, can help athletes. Coaches and parents play a very important role in shaping athletes' mental toughness and overall success. Here's how supportive mentors can help. First, achieve goals and objectives. With the guidance and encouragement of coaches and parents, athletes can set realistic goals and develop the perseverance needed to reach them. Coaches provide specific feedback, while parents help emotional support and motivation. The second one, make the most of opportunities. Mentors help athletes recognize and seize opportunities, whether that's a chance to improve a skill, compete in a higher level competition, or take on leadership roles within a team. The third one is adapt to transitions. Transitions such as moving to a new team or facing a change in competition level can be challenging for young athletes. Coaches and parents can help athletes adjust by providing reassurance, strategic advice, and mental preparation. The fourth one is improve attendance and time management. Consistent attendance at practices and the ability to manage time effectively are crucial for success. Coaches instill the importance of commitment, while parents help ensure that athletes prioritize their training and academic responsibilities. The fifth one is complete training and academic tasks. Support from coaches and parents extends beyond the training ground. Parents can help with academic responsibilities, ensuring athletes maintain a healthy balance between schools and sports, while coaches help athletes stay focused and dedicated to their training. The sixth one applies skills inside and outside sports. The mental toughness athletes develop through sports can be transferred to other areas of life. Coaches and parents teach athletes how to use skills like focus, resilience, and problem solving in everyday situations. The seventh one is become effective leaders. Athletes who are supported by their coaches and parents often develop leadership qualities. Mentors encourage athletes to take on leadership roles, whether it's within their teams or in other areas of life. Number 8, prepare for higher level sports education or jobs. The mental toughness developed in sports prepares athletes for future challenges. Coaches and parents provide guidance and help athletes transition to higher level sports, education, or the workforce, ensuring they are ready for the next step and their journey. Number 9, develop better social skills. Social skills such as communication, teamwork, and empathy are fostered through sports. Coaches and parents guide athletes in building strong relationships with teammates and others, both inside and outside of the sporting world. So by creating an environment of support, coaches and parents equip young athletes not only to excel in sports but to strive in various aspects of life. Their mentorships helps athletes build the mental toughness they need to overcome challenges, pursue their goals, and become successful, well-rounded individuals. There are 16 ways to promote self-confidence in young athletes. Young athletes thrive when they feel supported, in control, and capable of turning challenges into opportunities. As noted by Stricharczyk et al. 2021, building self-confidence is crucial for the development of mental toughness, and it can be achieved through various activities that help athletes believe in themselves and their abilities. The following strategies are proven to boost self-confidence in young athletes. First, the general guidance to support mental toughness. Guidance for coaches, parents, and mentors. To support mental toughness in athletes, it is important to adopt strategies that help athletes build resilience, emotional regulation, and self-belief. According to Stamatis et al. 2020, these general approaches can make a significant impact. First, the use of psychological skills training, mentoring, and peer support. It is to equip athletes with mental skills such as visualization, positive self-talk, and relaxation techniques. Also provide guidance through mentoring and peer support to foster growth and development. The second one, gradually expose athletes to challenges. Introducing athletes to progressively tougher challenges helps them build their mental resilience. So these exposures allows them to develop problem-solving skills and emotional control. The third one is consider cultural and situational differences. success. Understanding the unique backgrounds and circumstances of each athlete, tailoring your approach to fit the individual ensures they are received the right kind of support. The fourth one, keep coaches, parents, and players involved. A strong support system involving both coaches and parents helps athletes feel connected and motivated. Their involvement can reinforce positive behaviors and mental toughness. The fifth one is track mental toughness and change over time. Keep track of an athlete's progress in terms of mental toughness. Regular assessments allow coaches to identify areas of strength and areas of improvement. The second one, specific approaches to build mental toughness. Approaches to building mental toughness. So Liu et al. 2019 provides specific approaches to fostering mental toughness. These strategies are essential for creating an environment that supports mental growth and builds resilience. The first one is set and track realistic training goals. It helps athletes set goals that are challenging yet attainable. Tracking progress gives them something tangible to work towards, fostering a sense of achievement. The second one, celebrate all achievements. No matter how small, every achievement is important. Celebrating this success builds confidence and reinforces the value of hard work. The third one, promotes self-care and well-being. Toughness is closely linked to physical and emotional well-being. Encourage athletes to prioritize sleep, nutrition, and mental health to maintain a strong foundation of resilience. The fourth one, surround athletes with positive role models. Positive role models serve as an examples for athletes to emulate. Surrounding them with athletes, coaches, and mentors who display strong mental toughness provides a blueprint for success. Number 5, encourage stepping out of comfort zones. Challenge athletes to step beyond their comfort zones. Facing discomfort and overcoming fear builds resilience and helps athletes develop a more robust mindset. Number 6, seek support from trusted professionals. Mental toughness can be enhanced through professional support, such as sports psychologists or counselors. These professionals help athletes manage stress, anxiety, and pressure. Number 7, teach healthy stress coping skills. Equip athletes with tools to handle stress, such as breathing exercises, mindfulness or relaxation techniques, and these skills help athletes remain calm under pressure. Number 8, show how to recover from setbacks. Teach athletes that setbacks are part of the process and show them how to recover. Resilience grows when athletes understand how to learn from failure and keep moving forward. Number 9, support athletes in life beyond sports. Encourage athletes to develop skills that will help them succeed in life beyond sports, such as time management, communication, and self-discipline. Number 10, build strong support networks. Foster an environment where athletes can lean on their coaches, parents, and peers for support. A strong network creates a safety net, ensuring athletes never feel isolated. Number 11, foster open and honest communication. Communication is key in building trust and mental toughness. Encourage athletes to express their concerns, thoughts, and feelings openly with their coaches and parents. So by implementing these strategies, we can help young athletes develop the mental toughness needed for success, not only in sports, but also in their personal and professional lives. So there are 4 techniques for building a mentally resilient young athlete. The literature identifies many techniques that build mental toughness and resilience in young athletes. So here is the 4 techniques. First, the goal setting. Second, the visualization. The third one, anxiety, control, and relaxation. And the fourth one is positive thinking. Let's talk first about the goal setting and the GROW model. Setting goals boosts confidence, motivation, and commitment, especially with coaches' support. Goal setting is a powerful tool for enhancing mental toughness and resilience. It helps athletes focus their efforts, stay motivated, and track their progress. The GROW model, or GROW, is a well-known framework for goal setting that can guide athletes in setting and achieving their goals. Now, let's break it down into 4. G is for goal. The first step is to clearly define the goals, whether it's improving a specific skill, performing better in a competition, or achieving academic success. The goal should be specific, measurable, and realistic. Coaches play a very important role in helping athletes set goals that are both challenging and achievable. The second one, R, is for reality. Understanding the current situation is essential before making progress. This step involves taking an honest look at where the athlete is now. What skills need improvement? What challenges do they face? A clear understanding of their starting point allows athletes to create a plan that addresses their unique needs and circumstances. The third one is O. O for options. This step is about exploring the different ways forward. What are the possible strategies and resources available to achieve the goal? And identifying potential barriers and how to overcome them is a key part of this process. Coaches can help athletes exploring various options, whether it's different training techniques, practice routines, or seeking support from others. The fourth one is W. W is for a way forward. Once the options are identified, the final step is to commit to a course of action. This involves setting concrete steps for progress, deciding on timeliness, and remaining accountable. The athlete needs to make a commitment to follow through and take consistent action towards their goal. These steps that ensures progress is made and the athlete stays on track. So, using the GROW model allows athletes to break down large goals into manageable steps, boosting their confidence and commitment. Coaches can provide guidance throughout this process, helping athletes stay focused and motivated as they work towards their goals. The second one is visualization for mental strength. Creating positive mental images can boost confidence and performance by Strisharzik et al. 2021. So what is visualization? Visualization is a powerful mental technique that can significantly enhance an athlete's performance and mental resilience. By imagining themselves succeeding and overcoming challenges, athletes can boost their confidence and improve focus. So here's how visualization works. First, it can picture yourself overcoming obstacle and succeeding. Visualization allows athletes to mentally rehearse their performances and visualize themselves successfully navigating obstacles. By vividly imagining the process of overcoming challenges, athletes can better prepare themselves for real-life scenarios. The second one, use visualization to increase self-beliefs and focus. When athletes visualize themselves performing well, it strengthens their belief in their abilities. Visualization helps them stay focused on their goals, reinforcing positive thoughts that build self confidence and clarity in their action. The third one helps improve awareness, reduce anxiety, and support well being. Visualization can help athletes become more aware of their surrounding and actions, which is essential in high pressure situations. It also reduces anxiety by allowing athletes to mentally practice handling stress before it happens, making it easier to stay calm during actual performances. The fourth one, combined with positive thinking to build mental strength. Visualization should be paired with positive thinking. By visualizing success and thinking positively, athletes are reinforcing their mental strength. This combination strengthens resilience and prepares athletes to tackle challenges with a more positive mindset. The third one, let's talk about the anxiety control and relaxation. Stress and anxiety can hurt confidence and performance by Strisharzik et al. 2021. So anxiety and stress are natural reactions to competitions and pressure, but they can undermine an athlete's confidence and performance. Learning how to control anxiety and practice relaxation techniques is crucial for maintaining mental toughness and focus. So here's how athletes can manage stress. First, use meditation and deep breathing to regain control. Meditation and deep breathing techniques are highly effective in helping athletes regain control over their emotions. When stress levels arise, taking a few moments to breathe deeply and clear the mind can help athletes calm down and refocus. The second one, boost confidence through self-efficacy and calmness. Managing stress and anxiety helps athletes build self-efficacy, the belief in their ability to succeed. When athletes feel calm and composed, their confidence increases and they are more likely to perform well. The third one is breathing techniques help lower stress and anxiety. Controlled breathing techniques such as deep breathing or diaphragmatic breathing are great ways to reduce anxiety. By focusing on their breath, athletes can lower their heart rate, calm their nerves, and center their thoughts before or during competition. The fourth one is mindfulness builds coolness through intention, attention, and attitude. Mindfulness involves focusing on the present moment with intention, attention, and a positive attitude. Mindfulness helps athletes stay grounded, reduce anxiety, and develop a more positive outlook on both training and competition. It encourages athletes to focus on the process rather than worrying about outcomes, improving their overall mental well being. The last one is the positive thinking for confidence. Positive thinking boosts confidence and supports achievement by Strategic et al. 2021. A positive thinking is a key factor in building confidence and achieving success. By shifting their mindset, athletes can develop a more resilient approach to challenges, which helps them perform better under pressure. So here's how positive thinking can make a difference. Number one, use affirmation to manage stress and pressure. For example, I can do this. It is the positive affirmations like this help athletes focus on their ability to succeed. By reminding themselves of their capabilities, they can reduce self-doubt and increase their belief in their own strength. Another example is, I've done this before, I can do it again. So this affirmation encourages athletes to reflect on past success, reminding them that they are capable of achieving their goals based on their previous experiences. The next example is, I'm unstoppable. This affirmation reinforces an athlete's resilience and determination. It helps them stay focused on their goals and reminds them that no obstacle is insurmountable. The second one is affirmations and positive thoughts help overcome challenges. When athletes face challenges, affirmations provide a mental anchor to keep them positive and motivated. By focusing on positive thoughts, athletes are less likely to get overwhelmed by negative emotions and are better equipped to handle difficult situations. Affirmations also help athletes stay optimistic, which is a key component of mental toughness. So, incorporating positive thinking into an athlete's routine boosts their mental strength and helps them face challenges with greater confidence and determination. So, by consistently using affirmations and focusing on positive thoughts, athletes can build a resilient mind that supports achievement both in and out of the competition.
Good day once again, everyone. I am teacher Elgin Fuentes Contado, and now we proceed to the 6.4, which is assessment in sports and exercise psychology. So, what is a psychological assessment? So, psychological assessment involves scientifically gathering and analyzing data about individuals, but a major problem is the lack of properly adapted and validated instruments for specific populations. So in sports and exercise psychology, this issue persists despite increased interest since the 1960s. Few tests were specifically designed for this context, and even fewer exist in countries like Portugal. Researchers must either develop new tools or adapt existing ones, with adaptation being preferable for cross-cultural comparison and robustness. In sport exercise psychology, this problem is still common, even though interest in this area grows since 1960s. Only a few tests were made for countries like Portugal. Researchers today have two choices. The first one is create new tests from scratch, or the second one is adapt tests that already exist in other languages. So adapting is usually better because it allows results to be compared across different cultures and helps avoid creating too many similar tests. For a psychological test to be good, it must be, the first one is valid. It measures what it is supposed to measure. And reliable. It gives consistent result. Number 3 is sensitive. It can tell differences between people. And the fourth one is the predictive. Predictive, it can help guess future behavior. Test should also measure hidden psychological traits because things we can see directly. And accurately. Translating of a questionnaire. Um, Translating psychological instruments requires more than literal translation. It must be respect cultural factors. And there are three key translations principles. The first one is avoid literal translation. The second one is prioritize semantic meaning. And the third one is understand theoretical models and application contexts. Example of the translation and adaptation process. The first one is authorization. The researcher contacts the original author of the sport motivation questionnaire and receives permission to translate and adapt it. The second one is preliminary translation. Three bilingual translators fluent in English and Portuguese individually translate the questionnaire. And the research theme compares the translation and produces a first Portuguese. Third is first evaluation committee review. A committee of 5 experts is linguist, a clinical psychologist, 2 sports psychologists, and sports scientists reviews the first Portuguese version. Each expert provides feedback on unclear or culturally inappropriate terms, like changing varsity team to a university team to match Portuguese context. Fourth is second evaluation, which is independent committee review. A different committee of 5 experts re-evaluates the second version. In a group meeting, they resolve disagreements, debating whether competitive spirit should be translated as spiritus competitivo or vontade de vencer. The fifth one is pilot study. The questionnaire is tested with 50 Portuguese athletes from various sports. Athletes point out confusing items. A question about scholarship that is uncommon in Portugal and suggests clearer wording. Researchers revise the questionnaire accordingly. And the last one is final review. 2 Portuguese language specialists correct grammar, punctuation, and style issues. The final Portuguese version of the sport motivation questionnaire is now ready for psychometric validation. Psychological assessment in sport and exercise is essential but still underdeveloped, especially in certain countries. Many existing tools are not adapted or validated for specific populations, leading to unreliable results. To improve assessment quality, it is better to adopt existing validated instruments using strong, culturally sensitive methods. A good psychological test must be valid, reliable, sensitive, and predictive, ensuring rigorous adaptation and validation processes will help make assessments more accurate and meaningful in sports and exercise contexts. And that's conclude for my topic. And now we proceed to our next topic and teacher Christy Jane will discuss it. Thank you so much.
Good day, everyone. I am Christy Jane Cano, and now let's move on to assessment of the reliability and validity of a questionnaire. And today, I will be discussing a crucial aspect of psychological measurement, the assessment of the reliability and validity of a questionnaire. So these two properties ensure that our instruments are not only consistent but also meaningful and accurate. Now let's begin with reliability. So reliability refers to the stability and consistency of the results. Even the best psychological tests have some degree of error. According to the classical error theory, the formula is reliability equal 1 minus measurement error variance divided by variance of observed values, open and close parentheses. So in short, a perfect instrument would always give the same result if the truth rate doesn't change, though in psychology, a little error is inevitable. So there are two types of reliability, which are the temporal reliability and internal reliability. First, we have temporal reliability, which checks how stable the results are over time. So this is tested by applying the questionnaire to the same subjects at two different points and then calculating the correlation, usually Pearson's R. So Pearson's R ranging from -1 to +1. So acceptable correlation levels are typically above 0.70, although in some cases 0.60 can be acceptable. So to avoid issues, we suggest a time gap of 2 to 4 weeks between tests, not too short to avoid memory effects and not too long to avoid real changes in behavior. So after looking at stability over time, we also need to check if the items themselves are consistent internally. Second, there's internal reliability, which measures how well the items in a questionnaire work together to assess the same concept. So we use Cronbach's alpha to check this. So here's a simple interpretation. So less than 0.60 is unacceptable. 0.60 to 0.69 is weak. 0.70 to 0.79 is reasonable. 0.80 to 0.89 is good. And 0.89 is excellent. However, in some cases, too high an alpha might mean that questions are just too similar. So in confirmatory factor analysis, we prefer using composite reliability or CR because it doesn't assume equal weight of items. So composite reliability should be above 0.60 or 0.70 but not exceed 0.95. Now let's move to validity. While reliability looks at consistency, validity is about meaning and usefulness, whether the questionnaire truly measures what it intends to measure. And there are three types of validity: the content related validity, criterion related validity, and construct related validity. First, content-related validity. So it focuses on whether the content of the questionnaire is appropriate and relevant. So this includes face validity. So does it look like it measures what it should? And deeper content examination by experts. Second, criterion-related validity. So it checks if the questionnaire predicts or relates to a specific outcome. So it includes concurrent validity or the current behavior and predictive validity or the future behavior. Third, and most importantly, we have construct validity. So it deals with whether the questionnaire truly measures the theoretical construct it's supposed to. So this is the noble form of validity because it supports the instrument's scientific credibility. Now let's deep dive into construct validity. So we have convergent validity. So convergent validity ensures that indicators supposed to measure the same construct are indeed related. So it's measured by the average variance extracted or the AVE, and the value of 0.50 or more is expected. Next, we have discriminant validity. So it checks if our construct is truly distinct from others. So in other words, the construct should not overly correlate with unrelated constructs. So here, too, we use the AVA comparison technique to ensure that the shared variance within a construct is greater than the shared variance with others. So in summary, a good questionnaire must be both reliable, giving stable, consistent results, and valid, so truly measuring what it claims. So by rigorously assessing both reliability and validity using the proper methods, we can ensure that our instruments are strong, meaningful, and effective in research and practice. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. Always remember good measurement is the foundation of good science.
Good day, everyone. I am Geraldine Samuel, and I'm going to discuss about exploratory factor analysis, or the AFA. As you can see at Figure 1, exploratory factor analysis reduces a large number of variables. The factors by exploring correlation between observable variables. The AFA has no prior assumption about the factors or the factor structure are needed, making it useful for the research or the exploratory research. This exploratory factor analysis may require a high correlation between variables, which assist using Kaiser-Meyer-Hawkins or the KMO test, the greater than zero point 0.6, and Bartlett's sphericity test, the significant p-value. The most used method for factor extraction are the principal components analysis, or the PCA, which analyzes total variance used for data reduction, and the common factor analysis, or the FA, which analyzes the common variance used to identify latent constructs. The things we need to remember about these two methods: the PCA needs to analyze the total variance, and the FA, which analyzes the common variance. Initial EFA results usually do not produce easily interpretation structure or interpretable structure of it. So factor rotation is the most important tool. This factor rotation produces a clearer and more interpretable factor structure. Factor rotation has two types: the orthogonal or the varimax, which this factor are uncorrelated, and this factor are independent and produces one result matrix. The other type is the oblique or the promax, which factors are correlated, and these factors produces two result matrices: the pattern matrix and the structural matrix. The pattern matrix is the most frequent interpreted and reported. It shows unique contribution of each item to the factors, and the structure matrix, which includes factor correlation. Results may overestimated due to increased correlation between factors. Next is the criteria for factor retention are: first, the Kaiser criterion, which retain factors with eigenvalue the greater than or equal to 1.0. The second is the scree plot, which analyze the elbow graph to determine the number of factors above the band. Next is the communalities. These communalities should need a proportion of variance explained by extracted factors. The value is greater than 0.50 or indicate group explanation. The next factor is the factor loading. This factor loading correlations between the item and factor. Significant loadings or the greater than or equal to 0.50 or greater than or equal to 0.30 with consideration of sample size. The next factor retention is the loadings, which avoids items with significant loadings and multiple factors. This is consider eliminating items with differences less than 0.15. The next one is the percentage of variance explained. It retained factors should explain greater than or equal to 40% of items variance, or the 60% is considered very satisfactory. The next one is the internal reliability. This retention factors is Cronbach alpha or the than or equal to 0.70 or greater than or equal to 0.60 and EFA. It analyzes items total correlation greater than 0.50. When the factors with at least 3 items, preferably 4 to too many items per factors can lead to problems. It may be called of factor.
This presentation introduces confirmatory factor analysis or CFA within the broader framework of structural equation modeling or SEM. It summarizes the theoretical foundations, differences from exploratory factor analysis or EFA, sample size guidelines, and model identification criteria for using CFA in research. What is SEM or structural equation modeling? Structural equation modeling combines aspects of both regression analysis and factor analysis, making it a powerful tool for analyzing complex models. So it enables researchers to test both the measurement model, or how observed variables relate to latent constructs, and the structural model, or how those constructs relate to each other. So this makes structural equation modeling particularly useful in social and behavioral research where theoretical constructs are not directly observable. This slide highlights the differences between EFA and CFA. So EFA is typically used in an early stages of research to uncover potential factor structures without any preconceived model. So in contrast, CFA tests a hypothesized model that specifies the number of factors and how they relate to observed items. So CFA is more structured and requires theoretical or empirical justification for the model being tested. CFA relies on a large sample sizes to ensure reliable and valid estimates. A commonly recommended ratio is 10 participants per estimated parameter. So minimum sample sizes range from 100 to 200 depending on model complexity, with higher numbers advised for more complex models or non-normally distributed data. Adequate sample size ensures statistical power and stability of parameter estimates. For CFA to work, the model must be identified, meaning it must have enough known information or observed variances and covariances to estimate the unknown parameters. So the model should have positive degrees of freedom or over-identified. Additionally, the latent variables need to be scaled, typically by fixing one loading per factor to 1. Without this, the model cannot be estimated correctly. To estimate latent variables or factors, we must give them a scale. So the two common methods are fixing one loading to 1.0 or ULI, or fixing the factor's variance to 1.0 or UVI. So while both work, UVI is often simpler and more transparent. So however, software defaults can be vary. CFA assumes that each observed variables represents one underlying factors and has its own error term. So these errors must be uncorrelated unless justified. So having at least three items per factor helps ensure reliable identification and stability of the model. The ML, or the maximum livelihood method, tries to find parameter estimates that make the model implied covariance matrix as close as possible to the actual data. So it works best under the assumption of normally distributed data, which is often not the case in psychological research. When data deviate from normality, maximum livelihood estimates may become biased. Corrections like Satora-Bentler adjust for this. So bootstrapping is another strategy that estimates standard errors by resampling the data, providing more robust results under non-normality. The chi-square test, while foundational, has limitation, so it often flags acceptable models as poor when the sample size is large or the model is complex. So it should be used alongside other indices to assess model fit comprehensively. No single index tells the full story, so absolute indices assess how well the model fits the observed data. Incremental indices evaluate whether the model performs better than a baseline. Example given is a null model, so using both gives a clearer picture of fit. These indices are the most frequently used. So while perfect cutoff values are debated, they give general guidelines for judging model fit. So RMSEA and SRMR are particularly useful because they account for model complexity and provide intuitive interpretations. Successful CFA depends on a careful planning, from sample size and model structure to estimation techniques and fit evaluations. So relying on a mix of fit indices and robust methods help produce valid, defensible results.
So now let's proceed to incremental fit. So incremental fit includes a factor that represents deviations from a null model. So there are two types of fit index. It is comparative fit index or CFI and non-normed fit index or NNFI. So comparative fit index, it says here that compares your model to a basic one where variables don't relate. So a value above 0.90 is ideal but 0.90 is acceptable. Still, there is no perfect number. So it is just use it as a guide, not a rule. So it also says here that CFI uh, well compares how well your model fits the data versus a bad or null model where nothing is related. So CFI is greater than or equal 0.95, which is equal to good fit, but CFI greater than or equal to 90 is acceptable. So CFI also is adjust for sample size. So reminder, the 0.95 this is the magic number is a guideline, not an absolute rule. So example for this is the model showed a good fit with CFI. So CFI equal to 0.96, indicating a strong improvement over the null model. So, di ba, it says here that a value above 0.95 is ideal. So, the next fit index is the non-norm or NNFI, also known as Tucker-Lewis index. So it's similar to CFI but also looks at model complexity. So again, the greater than or equal to 0.95 is good, but the greater than or equal to 0.90 is acceptable. So the non-norm fit index is also punishes model for being too complex. So it says here that NFI is greater than or equal to 0.95 is good fit also. And NNFI also is greater than or equal to 0.90 is acceptable. So it reacts more to model complexity than sample size. So the NNFI or TLI sample, the NNFI or TLI was 0.93. So showing an acceptable model fit considering model complexity. Di ba kay the greater than 0.90 is acceptable. Next is it says here that experts warn not to blindly follow these cutoffs, as they might cause researchers to adjust models just to get better numbers. So other things to report in CFA is factor loadings and SMC or squared multiple correlation. So the factor loadings or FL should be greater than or equal to zero point 0.5, ideally greater greater or equal to zero point 0.7, showing how well items reflect the factor. While SMC says here that how much of the item's variance is explained. So here are also the error variance or the EV, which says here that what's not explained by the factor. Uh, it says also here that should be low or high error suggest issues, while in standard issues should be small or eh, high standard errors. So it is equal to unstable estimates. So it tells how stable the estimates are, smaller is better. So to improve models, researchers check residuals and modification indices. So residuals is differences between actual and predicted values. So big values may mean problems. So it says here, the differences between the actual and predicted values lang, while the modification is just suggest ways to improve fit. It is the suggestion but not the decide model changes. It is just a guide, ang modification indices. While multi-group analysis is checks if the model works across different groups like males versus females, mga gender, or sex, and it tests if parameters are consistent across groups in several stages from least to most. And changes in CFI is less than or what do we call this? Less than or equal to 0.01 are usually okay. So in conclusion, validating instruments isn't just about translation. So it also requires rigorous and step-by-step work. Good practices, especially using SEM or CFA, can improve research in sport and exercise psychology, but researchers must be well prepared and avoid shortcuts. That's all for my topic. Thank you.
So that concludes Unit 6 on performance enhancement and assessment. We've seen how improving performance and evaluating progress go hand in hand. As we move forward, let's apply these insights to set goals, track improvements, and continue striving for excellence. And remember this quote by John Wooden: success comes from knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. Keep striving, keep improving, your best performance is always ahead of you. And that's all. Thank you for listening.